to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to weep, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. Well, to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time of love, a time to hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. Well, to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven, and a time to every purpose under heaven.
It's so great to see Ed singing from our sanctuary. Thank you so much, Ed, for recording that for our service. Welcome, welcome, welcome this morning to the First Universalist Church of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the spirit and to serve the community. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. And whomever you love, we welcome you. And wherever you find yourself in life's gorgeous bouquet, we welcome you. We welcome all of you. It is good, it is good, it is good to be together this morning. If you are here visiting for the first time this morning, we especially welcome you. Thank you for joining us over Zoom as the church has left the building. As we gather this morning, I want to invite you, if you would like to pop into the chat wherever you find it on your screen, to offer a greeting. So if you'd just like to please pop on over, give a wave, say hello, say good morning, I'm here, whatever you prefer. It's just great to see all of the different voices and all of the different faces of folks who are here joining us for worship this morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to worship at First Universalist Church. Our hymn this morning is my favorite hymn from childhood. So let us join hearts and voices in singing together this morning, hymn number 38, Mourning Has Broken. Recognizing that even as we are singing muted in our own homes, we are creating a song across the city of Rochester, our country, and the world. So let us join in singing together hymn number 38, Mourning Has Broken.
completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden's flame. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Our call to worship this morning comes from Jess Reynolds. Ask me where my fear grows. Everywhere, everywhere. Out of broken light bulbs, through cracked dirt of gasping riverbeds, in the rough green of every forest, and climbing from the screen of every television like some sickly antenna. Poison berries on a vine, every staircase as moss thick as the stairs where I sat at 6 and watched a fire burn through my backyard. Ask me where my hope grows. Everywhere, everywhere, deep in basement corners, from the ragged concrete edges of sidewalks in the city, quick and rough like fingernails on the hands of someone who doesn't bite them like I do. Green spilling from the mouths of children running wild from the hands of the librarians who taught me to see what I could be worth. I don't know how anything grows when I can't remember how to fill a watering can or how to check the soil to see if it's too dry. I don't know what green thumbs are, or chlorophyll, or gardeners. I don't know how the sun remembers to rise, or trains remember to run on time, or how people remember to be good and generous and kind when their hearts are always breaking. This is all I know. The flowers will grow. The flowers will grow. And this morning, as we light our chalice, I'll invite you to please join me in saying our chalice lighting words in unison, which will be here on the screen and are also printed in your order of service if you are calling in. So let's join in these words in unison. May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit. And may we reach out to serve our community. Our chalice is now lit. Please join me in saying our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity and fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and the meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. Prepare to join in our doxology. I'll just invite, if someone here is unmuted, to mute, as when we sing, when we are unmuted, it can create a cacophony of voices. So let us join together in singing our doxology.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
My friends, when you give to this church, you give to a community that may have left the building, but has still remained connected. Your generosity supports these worship services. Your generosity supports our music programming, coordinating these beautiful offerings that we are about to hear and have been hearing this morning. Your gifts go to a place that is so very essential and dear to us now more than ever. We need our spiritual communities. We thank you in advance for all that you can give this morning. Please click on the link in the chat to give online to First Universalist Church, or feel free to send a check to the church the old-fashioned way. For whatever you can give this morning, we thank you. And let us join in listening to our offering from Ed Deller again.
Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. Well, I'll be a dandy and I'll be a rover. You know who I am by the song that I sing. I'll feast at your table, I'll sleep in your clover. Who cares what the morrow shall bring? For today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. I can't be contented with yesterday's glory. I can't live on promises, winter to spring. Today is my moment, and now is my story. I'll laugh, I'll cry, and I'll sing. For today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today.
Good morning, friends. If you have any young ones with you today in the house and you want to invite them in for this story, that would be lovely to see their faces or just know that some of our companions are with us today. So Flower Communion Sunday, I love because I think about all the times that we give flowers to someone and what does that mean? Often it means that you love them and you care about them and you want them to feel that love and know it, and you give them something that will help them to smile. And it makes me think of all the other ways that we try to let someone know that we love and care about them, even if it means it's a little inconvenient or a lot inconvenient for us. Ways that we compromise when we're playing a game. We might not like the game the other one wants, so we find one that we both will play. Or we might see that someone needs a little extra help and we'll take some time out of our day to help them. And whether it's marriage love or love in general, there are many ways that we can sacrifice and give to let someone know we care about them. So some of you may have seen this picture that I have in my background. It's one of my favorites. This is actually a painting of my grandparents' wedding picture. And I wonder, feel free to use your chat, is there anything interesting you notice about this as a wedding picture? So this was 1947, so about 70 years ago. So it was still vogue then. No suit, no wedding dress, not in a bridal gown, blue suit on the bride. Yes, you got it, exactly. So my grandmother was Catholic and my grandfather was Episcopalian. And while some rules changed, some things haven't, they fell deeply and madly in love, but it was not okay to marry someone who wasn't in your same religion. And there was a push that if, their faith was very important to both of them. If my grandmother wanted to get married in the church in a dress, my grandfather had to convert to Catholicism. But he didn't want to do that, and she didn't want to make him. And so she had to get married in the priest's house with no fancy wedding dress, a suit. And so that's what they did. And at the same time, they promised to raise their children Catholic, but they knew each other and loved and respected each other. They found their own way around what everyone said they should do or what had to do to get married and be together. And so these are the little sacrifices that we can still see that they made for their love to be together. I want to share another picture with you this morning. I'm going to screen share. And this couple didn't get to wear a fancy wedding dress either. This is Richard and Mildred Loving. Now recently, I don't know if you knew this, June 12th, this past Friday, was Loving Day, celebrating interracial marriage. So June 12th, 1967, so that would be 20 years after my grandparents got married, the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional for the 16 states at that time who had laws against interracial marriage. When Richard and Mildred got married, they had to go to another state to get married. But when they came back to their home state of Virginia, they were arrested and given the option of staying in jail or moving out of the state for 25 years. They moved out of the state, but then Mildred kept writing to people in leadership about this. Now, they could have just moved to a different state and lived out their lives and kept going. But not only did they make sacrifices to be together, they made sacrifices to make sure that other interracial couples could be together. And I don't know if you know this, it has only been 5 years since it was granted at a Supreme Court level for same-sex couples to get married. Only 5 years to say that love is love, whomever you are. And so let's think about the sacrifices that these couples made to be together, to share their love, the sacrifices that friends and family, that leadership made to say, no, this is not okay. They should be allowed to love. And the sacrifices that we can make to see justice and love flourish, whether it's standing up for the love and rights of others, whether it's sharing and sacrificing and finding compromises in our relationships, or delivering flowers to people we care about in the midst of a pandemic. Thank you for listening this morning, and have a blessed flower communion. Transfer.
I want to now invite you into this reverent time of sharing in the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to help you to listen from this heart-centered place, but also just to acknowledge that this is a place of connection and to connect into what we are listening to from one another. As I place stones into a glass, as well as sea glass and shells from my hometown in Connecticut, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows from our gathered community. All are also invited to please share your joys and sorrows in the chat that we may hear from the community gathered here. Friends, this morning I share joys and sorrows from our gathered community. I share a joy from Cassie Bocanegra that it was her mom's birthday yesterday. She is amazing and an inspiration to me now and forever. She deserves all the love and happiness in the world. We join her in wishing Mia a happy birthday. A joy and or a concern for Marty Eggers. A taser is not a deadly weapon. Friends, we share a sorrow this morning from Becky Elwell. Please keep in your well wishes, prayers, and thoughts Patty Williams, my sister-in-law, who has just been diagnosed with COVID-19. A sorrow from Elizabeth Osta for Patrick, who is beginning hospice, and for his wife, Margaret, who has been at his side day and night. And we also share this morning a sorrow from Lois Baum, which I took a screenshot of on my phone and saved. A sorrow for the death of Linda Di Stefano, well-known activist from Syracuse, animal rights, environmentalist, everything. We just learned of this news this morning, and so we're just holding all those who knew Linda in our hearts. And I will drop one final stone into the bowl to represent all of the joys and the sorrows left unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. May all be held in the heart of love. And now, my friends, this morning, I'll just invite us to take a deep breath. To move our hands away from the keyboards for just a second. To relax into this moment. And let us just settle in this morning for a prayer. God of all, that which is within us, among us and beyond us. In the busy rush between one day and the next, we confess to the casual indifference of each street corner passing, the self-protective stance of each missed opportunity for compassion. In worship, we prepare our hearts to reach again for that shining moment when for once we raise our eyes from the scuffs of our shoes, the gum on the sidewalk, the companionship of expectantly hovering expectations, and see there, looking back, the eyes of a stranger who sees a stranger, transformed by an obstacle into a human being, through the pervasive magic of an encounter. God of all, Spirit of hope, help us to remember that though we have fallen short, though we have broken our vows, though we have sinned in what we have done and in what we have failed to do, we are connected to you and to one another by a redeeming mutuality that both heals and demands, that gives comfort amidst the holy agitation of our days. Help us to see one another. Really, really and truly see one another's pressing hurts and uplifting joy, and to see and to answer those joys and sorrows with every tool of transformation. Together, may we be both knowing and known, seen and believed, companions on the journey, created, imperfect, committed. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. We join in silence this morning, together to honor those memories, those moments of memory and hope that have risen in us. Memories when we have been reminded of falling short or missing the mark. Moments when it was hard to honor the humanity of another and to truly see them as another human being. Let us join. Let us join in imperfect silence together this morning. Our hymn of contemplation this morning is hymn number 18, What Wondrous Love. Let us join hearts and voices in singing together.
What wondrous love soul, my soul. What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered round, O my soul, O my soul. Friends to me gathered round, O my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, and to love and all friends I will sing, to love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end I will sing, with thanks unto the end I will sing.
Friends, this morning's reading comes from Brittany Packnett. Her name may be familiar to you. She is a constant commentator around issues of race and politics and our current society, but she is also a 2018 Ware lecturer at our Unitarian Universalist Association's General Assembly in 2018. And this is from a talk that she delivered to us, to our denomination, and it is called A Time to Tune In. You can't be prejudiced, racist, sexist, or homophobic. After all, you belong to this faith. You don't carry pitchforks and march with the Charlottesville gang. You don't vote for Trump, and you started the Women's March chapter in your city. You are a good person with good intentions. You love everyone, and your tax returns prove it. But I challenge you. I charge you. If here is where you're tuned out, this is precisely and exactly the time to tune in. Do you love people of color? Or do you tolerate us as long as we aren't too disruptive to your agenda? Do you love LGBTQ people, or do you only love the cis white male ones and forget the L, the B, the T, and the Q, especially the ones of color in the fight? Do you reflect the culture of your congregation in your leadership, or do you check boxes and fill quotas? You do not have to be white supremacist to benefit from white supremacy, any more than you have to be a misogynist to still benefit from the patriarchy, or a homophobe to still benefit from straight privilege. It is not enough to not be racist. We must expect ourselves to be actively anti-racist. It is not enough to not be sexist. We must expect ourselves to be intentionally and continually disruptive of gender discrimination. It is not enough to not be transphobic. We must expect ourselves to be obsessed with supporting the achievement of justice for trans people across the globe, as we are with our own. And therein ends the reading. Dear ones, this morning we have already caught a glimpse of our shared bouquet as Brock shared a beautiful bouquet with us during his playing. Thank you, Brock. I was not expecting that. That was gorgeous. And today, this morning, is our annual flower communion. And though we cannot be together to delight in a beautiful bouquet, we have created one from various pictures, and I mean various pictures, you have sent me from your gardens and yards and neighborhoods. So as Ed Deller plays the garden song, please enjoy our collective, beautiful bouquet.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna bless these seeds I sow. Please warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Pulling weeds, picking stones, we are made of dreams and bones. I feel the need to grow my own, 'cause the time is close at hand. Grain for grain, sun and rain, I find my way in nature's chain, and tune my body and my brain to the music of the land. So inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna bless these seeds I sow. Please warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. So plant your rows straight and long, temper them with prayer and song. Mother Earth will keep you strong if you give her loving care. Old crow watching hungrily from his perch in yonder tree. In my garden I'm as free as that feathered thief up there. So inch by inch, row by row, I'm gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna bless these seeds I sow. Please warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
I told y'all it was a lot of flowers. So beautiful, right? I feel like we couldn't fit all of that in our sanctuary. It's so beautiful. Oh, friends, I've always said that one of the strengths of this congregation, of this community, is your hospitality. If you have not yet been to a potluck in this community or to a coffee hour after an in-person worship service, please put these items on your to-do list for when we can gather as a group again, because it is truly a sight to see and a delight to behold. This community has warm welcome at the center of who you are. And I want to just say, it is truly, truly an honor and a privilege to see this hospitality in action. As the protests in support of Black lives and Black futures continue in downtown Rochester, and we continue to show up for this community by opening our restrooms and by providing supplies for people out here on these streets. It is amazing to see members of this church pulling up with coolers in their car to drop off to make sure that our water stays cold. It is amazing to see members of this church with arms outstretched with water bottles as protesters march by the church on the way to the Rochester Public Safety Building. It is amazing to see folks kindly and fairly aggressively offering each passerby, even if they are across the street, snacks, water, sunscreen, hand sanitizer, glucose tablets. It's just amazing. People are coming into our building one at a time, with deep sanitizing afterwards, and learning about who we are. People who may have never known about this church outside of it being the weird building downtown. A few have offered to donate to the church. Some have wondered about attending worship here as they stand in line patiently waiting. This is not why we have decided to open our restrooms to the revolution or why we are providing this supply table, but I don't want you to miss the importance of this welcome and some of its benefits. And I don't want you to miss out, if you can't be there, to hear some of the things that we are hearing, that I am hearing on Saturday. So you might be wondering, if you're here and if you've been to our flower communion before, or if you've never been, what might all of this have to do with Flower Communion Sunday? And what about that reading for Brittany Packnett? What does that have to do with all of this? And well, I'm actually very glad that you asked. Thank you. Our ritual of Flower Communion has its roots in Transylvanian Unitarianism in the 1920s. A minister named Norbert Čapek recognized that his congregation held much diversity, mainly people who were there from different religious backgrounds, similar to Rev Michelle's grandparents, but also people of all different shapes and sizes, maybe different cultural backgrounds, different family practices. He developed this tradition to replace the Eucharist one Sunday, where people would each bring a flower from home to create a collective bouquet, like we just saw, that reflected the beauty of diversity in nature, used as a metaphor for the beauty of the diversity of the people present. As part of the ritual, the flowers are redistributed back amongst the folks who are gathered, so we can all leave with a different flower than we came with. Again, reflecting that we all receive gifts from the experiences of one another that stay with us as we leave this place. Some also interpret the flowers we are given as ways we are called into relationship with those who may be different from the person who receives the flower. It is a service and a ritual with deep symbolism and multiple layers of interpretation. Since we cannot be together in person today, Rev Michelle and I will be driving around to some of your houses this afternoon to drop off a flower. I wish I could say it would be for everyone's house, but we cannot make it all the way to Brazil to bring a flower to Steve and Antonio. And for others, and for folks for whom we cannot make it to your home, we will send out a church-wide email with some of the beautiful flowers you have seen, so you can at least still receive a bouquet in your inbox. For those of you even living further away from the city of Rochester, our folks in Leroy, Rush, Spencerport, Fairport, Penfield, West Chi-Lion, on the very outskirts of the city, we are sorry we cannot get to you all today, because we really wish that we could. But please know you are in our hearts and still a deeply, deeply valued part of this community. I look forward to the day when we can be back in our sanctuary while still being online. I have no idea what that's going to look like, but while still being online, so we can celebrate this ritual together in a new and different way. Just as we are doing this year, we will have to reimagine in the years to come. I often think of this day as a day to interrogate and wonder about diversity and inclusion in our Unitarian Universalist communities. I have heard from many folks in this church concerns about the kinds of diversity we have here. Desires for more racial diversity, desires for more young people to be a part of this community. And that is where Brittany Packnett comes in. She asks us, do you love people of color, or do you tolerate us as long as we aren't too disruptive of your agenda? Do you love LGBTQ people, or do you only love the white, cis, male ones and forget the L, the B, the T, and the Q, especially the ones of color in your fight? Do you reflect the culture of your congregation in your leadership, or do you check boxes and fill quotas? And she asks Unitarian Universalists about this. on the biggest stage in our denomination, with thousands of Unitarian Universalists present in the room, and many more watching from home live, and many more to watch her talk in the years to come. I love that she asks us who we love, and then gives us a charge for how we must show up. If we say we love a group of people or even a person, then we have to actively show up for them. It's not enough for white people to have a Black friend, or for Christian people to have a Jewish friend, or for cisgender people to have a transgender friend. It is also about showing up for Black people, showing up for transgender folks, following their lead and centering their voices, and advocating in struggles led by these folks for rights that support the dignity and thriving of Black, Indigenous, and Brown peoples, for transgender and non-binary and gender non-conforming folks as well. It is not enough to hang a banner outside of our building that proclaims that Black lives matter. Even though that banner, coupled with our relationship in this community, may keep our building protected in Rochester's downtown during some of these uprisings, it is not enough, because we then have to actively work towards a world where Black lives truly matter. Then we have to actively work towards a world where Black transgender women like Remy Fells and Rhea Milton would not have been killed this past week in some horrific and gruesome ways. We then have to work towards a world where police are no longer killing Black folks at a daily rate across this country. If we love our neighbor, if we love the gifts that all bring to our community of Rochester, if we love one another in the way that our Universalist faith calls us to, as an expression of the love of God or just something larger than ourselves, then we have to be in this fight. And we have to actively honor the struggle that is present here. And I just want to say one more thing about this. It feels really important to honor all the folks in this church community and beyond who are joining in this struggle. And it feels important to honor that there are times when you need a break, or alternatively ways to participate in this movement without risking your health. And we need that participation too. I have heard from lots of you who feel torn or guilty for not being able to be out in the streets, or for not being able to be a part of the welcoming presence on Saturday mornings from our church to the protesters downtown. We can always offer our support by donating to Black-led struggles for justice, by donating support supplies to the movement, making phone calls to local elected officials within the demands of this movement moment, writing emails, inviting our friends and family to do the same. And we can also take a rest and look away from our phones for a bit in this time period, even though it feels hard and maybe even impossible. I know there have been moments for me where I am just like all over my phone and scrolling through, and I feel like that we just at some point need to slow down and take a break. Fear not. It will still be there when you get back. Yet we have to find times to also rest, to balance the giving and receiving, to allow ourselves space to integrate and process what is going on. So much is going on. To rest and to find different ways of engaging with this movement moment, this must also be a way to honor our diversity. Friends, let this day be a day to remind us of our commitments to those we love. Let this day be a day to interrogate exactly what is meant by diversity and inclusion. Let this day be a day to commit to take action on behalf of our siblings in human community. Let this day be a day where we acknowledge where we have shown up and where we have failed to do so, resolving to learn from those experiences and to do better in the future. Let this day be a day where we acknowledge when it is time to lean into the struggle and it is time to just be and rest and rejuvenate for the long road ahead. Because my friends, we are on a long road ahead. Let us just take a deep breath, deep collective breath from wherever we are together. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Our final hymn today is hymn number 61, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. This is a song that we usually reserve for Easter Sunday, as there are many Alleluias, and the tune may sound familiar for those with a Christian background or with some Christian experience. But the sentiment just seems to fit this day and the celebration of the flowers. And I just feel like maybe we need an Alleluia every now and again. So we will sing it out today, and we invite you to remain muted and sing out joyfully from home. Again, creating a collective song from wherever we find ourselves.
Lo, the earth awakes again. Alleluia. From the winter's mountain pain. Alleluia. Bring relief and flower and spring. Alleluia. To adorn this happy day. Alleluia. Once again the word comes true. Alleluia. All the earth shall be made new. Alleluia. Now the dark cold days are o'er. Alleluia. Spring and gladness are before. Alleluia. Change and mourning into praise. Alleluia. And for dirges anthems raise. Alleluia. Our spirits soar and sing. Alleluia. Our hearts leap with the scream. Alleluia.
Friends, as we extinguish our chalice this morning, let us read together the words printed in your order of service and on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. And friends, as we join in closing our service, I will just invite you into an embodied practice of holding hands across the screens. Please, if you can, if you are joining us on video, put your view into gallery view and reach out and extend your hands to the edge of the screen. If you are calling us in on the phone, just hold a hand to your heart and think of someone that you love in this community and in this congregation. Think of maybe a few folks that you love. Friends, as we go forward this week, let us keep at the center of our vision this beautiful bouquet. Let us ask ourselves, what do we do for those that we love? How must we show up for those that we love? Go forth this week knowing that you are loved. And go forth this week as being an expression in our world, in our community, in our families, and in our homes of that love. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. And as we come to the close in our service, I invite you to follow this benediction with the words, I am here to give and receive. I am here to be transformed. Let us please join in typing those words in the chat together as we listen to another beautiful piece from Ed Deller to close our service.
Do 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 do. Here comes the sun, do do do. Here comes the sun. I say it's all right. Well, little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. I say it's all right. Well, little darling, the smiles returning to their faces. And little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. I say it's all right. Sun, 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 well here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Well, sun, 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 here it comes. Little darling, I feel the ice is slowly melting. And little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. I say it's all right.
Why can I be here?
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun.
Everybody's dancing on you.
It's all right. It's all right.